So welcome back, everybody. This is a continuation of our discussion of the Lone Star Open with Mr. Kyle College as he's discussing his triumphs and failures at the Lone Star Open. And just a quick recap of what the after action review is. So this is really just us capturing our lessons learned from the event. You can see kind of on the left side of the screen there that we're going to talk about the venue, the mission and the layout, key elements of the lists, opposing forces, their high valued targets, and then kind of the concept or the general scheme of what Kyle did and what he thought he was going to do for the game, and then any key or decisive plays that were made during the game, and then of course we'll share the results of that match. So without going into too much more, let's go ahead and get into Kyle, real quick, if you would, recap the event for us. To Lone Star Open.
Yep. Okay, so we got the Lone Star Open in Texas this year, or it's running the same place every year, but yeah, Lone Star Open in Texas. Military event as well, so we saw a lot of the guys from the Army E-team and everything like that, so it was really great to see all of them. But 2-day event, 6 games, 3-3 each day for a super major, and this is the last one of the year, super major wise, before we're going to be heading into for ourselves at least, for going into the Las Vegas Open. So big venue, was great, fantastic place to run it. Love the guys over there at Frontline Gaming. The Death Lord's Chosen was the detachment I chose. Overall, of course, I brought Deathguard. I've been a Deathguard player for a long time. Death Lord's Chosen. So this one's a big Terminator focused in the detachment. Super resilient Terminators with a lot of ability to dish out the devastating wounds, mortal wounds, things like that. With a bit more mobility stuff in the list, because I used a lot of the backing, a lot of drones in this list as well. But the big heavy hitting punch of this army is the 15 Death Shroud Terminators it has in it. You see there in my main spot. This is all prior points. Of course, we just had the update for points. So, Deathguard's dead. I mean, everybody's just crying about it. Like, Deathguard's dead. They're going to be unplayable. It was very, very needed. And I would say an overall light tap on points for everything. Most people are dropping 150 to 200 points out of their list, which is one Plague Burst Crawler, because everybody is running Plague Burst Crawlers. So,
yeah,
that's
I
pretty
was
much
gonna say, because now you got some questions on my mind. So how did this list change? Following the fallout of the new update.
So I've actually, this list isn't too different. Let's see, 40, 80, 120. I would say it's probably, I more or less deleted the majority of the list, but this list probably went up 130, 140 points almost. So basically, in reality, that would be like drop a Poxwalker, drop a drone in the back, and that's a list. Could look exactly the same if I wanted it to. So
Okay,
overall, it's not terrible.
But you're thinking, and we talk a lot offline. So for anybody
Yeah.
who's just joining us, you're thinking you're going to switch. So where
Yeah.
will your Death Guard go now?
Yeah, so after this, I actually think I want to give the Taliban Summoners a run again. So running bigger demons and everything like that. So I'll bring back Rodigus and Mortarion and stuff
Boo.
like that. I'll bring them back. I know you love them. No, they definitely bring a different aspect. I think you'll see a lot wider play now. And this is all based off of course, next month we're going to have a rules update coming out. So we'll see how rules get adjusted within Death Guard, stuff like that. If key army like rule elements get hit with Mortarion's hammer and the Virulent Vectorum, so the sticky objective one. So for any reason, if those rules get broken down a little bit, those army rules, or Mortarion's Hammer, where we could just put 2 contagions, or we could infect 2 units across the board, didn't matter you at your range, and then unload Plague Burst Crawlers. If those don't get touched, it's going to stay the same for the most part, because those are still super competitive, they're super strong. But if those rules do get touched and they get tuned down a little bit, I think you're going to see a lot more spread, because we have 7 detachments to use, and we might as well try them all. But I see a lot of potential in Taliban Summoners, which is going to be anything that's demon-based. That's the only way we get demons in. So Nurgle, anything Nurgle-based, Beasts of Nurgle, are Rodigus, Great Unclean Ones, Nurglings, anything like that. So I think that's what I'm going to give a shot going into next, as long as the rules don't really get adjusted. As long as they don't, it'll be fine.
Kyle, go ahead and tell us what you thought. Mission 2.
Okay, so we had Purge the Foe. This is going to be your kill one, kill more, hold more. Yeah, kind of very traditional back to the days of, I don't even remember what edition we were only doing. That was the only mission you had to do. Eighth, I think, maybe ninth. I can't remember, but yeah, it was kill one, kill more. But so this is very familiar for a lot of people who have been playing along for a while. But big thing here is making sure you can kill, and especially if somebody sticks their face out the first turn, which my opponent did. Make sure you can step out and actually kill somebody on the first turn and gain those extra 4 points, because it can matter. But this one mainly is objective control and denying your opponent, and then making sure you can get those kills off. Other than that, pass objective, like that's probably the biggest part about this one, is your primary score can be the big difference in this game. So if we move on to the next one. Okay, so I went into Imperial Knights. So this has not been the meta Imperial Knights list that everybody has been seeing, where it's been 4 or 5 big knights that are all named characters. Because if I was going into that, I actually didn't even look at this list prior to seeing it on the table. And if it was going to be the big knights list, I was going to be going fixed objectives with Bring It Down and Assassinate, because it would have been max points every single turn. So this list, though, this girl was running. Her name was Lacey. Yeah, Lacey. She gave me one of her dice. She's a super nice girl. They are the Loyal Heretics, is who they were. But yeah, really good crew. Lacey was super awesome to play with, playing in the second round. I, of course, dropped my first round, so I was going to be coming out swinging in my second round, trying to get back up, going the submarine route if I can. So I came out swinging on this one, but she's running 12 small knights, 6 of the fighter, or the Helverins with the twin anti-air weapons, which are really rough on my flying drones. And then she's running 6 of the, if you scroll down to the next one, I don't know if, okay, and then 6 of the Warglaives. So they've got the Meltas, and they've got the chain sword on them. And then tops off the whole list, she has Canis Rex, which almost every single knight player has and should be running right now, because he's just ridiculously good. He's got awesome weapons, awesome profile, can do tons of stuff. Just, they're too good right now. We'll see what rules adjustments come next month. But this list I was actually kind of excited to walk into, because this list, my army is built to be able to take down. So these ones, they are good shooters, they're good fighters and stuff like that, but if I get into close combat with them, all that invuln and stuff goes away. So she was rolling with the Noble Lance. So just for anybody's reference, the Noble Lance, so all Imperial Knight models from your army have the Feel No Pain 6+ ability, which is horrendous to get through. And then once they are honored, so like killing the Warlord and stuff like that, models have the Feel No Pain 5+ ability. So it can be a very, very strong army to fight that has a lot of wounds and stuff to work through, especially when you're even talking these knights that each have 14 wounds now, I believe. It can be a lot to work through for an army that can't deal with 2 to 3 knights per turn. In this situation, you have to be able to deal with 3 knights a turn, or you're just going to get pushed off every objective because their OC is so high and things like that. So my game plan was to basically set myself back really defensively initially. Obviously, there's no knights left on the board. That's kind of how this game went, though. So my initial setup in my own deployment zone, I played very cagey, kept everything back, including probably the MVPs of this game were my big drones, my heavy blight launcher drones, because I have a Lord of Virulence in the army list as well, which when he marks a target, I get to re-roll everything for hits on blast weapons. So I could re-roll everything, just pick up anything that wasn't a 6, I could pick up and re-roll. And then, of course, almost every weapon in my army has lethal hits. That includes my long-range blast weapons that my heavy blight launcher drones have. So they were the MVP of this overall list, just because I had 3 of them all simultaneously. I did it for fast rolling. I pointed all 3 of them at Canis Rex simultaneously and rolled out 45 wounds into him. And Canis Rex saved half of those and still died. So he never even got a chance to shoot or anything. He just died when he stepped out in turn 2. So it was really, really nice for that to happen. But basically I was able to run up people on top of him and make sure he was in my contagion range, was able to point the Lord of Virulence at him, and then the drones all picked him up after that. So that's how dangerous those drones could be. They were definitely the MVP of my list, and every time they pointed at a knight, they picked it up. So they were overall, and then my Death Shroud, of course, controlling. So, but overall, my deployment, I deployed it very cagey because she has a lot. She has the shooting capability over the top of me, and then it was basically forcing her to make decisions on which ones. She did a very 50-50 across her deployment zone, but mostly deployed on the line with almost every knight she had, which very hard to not do that with knights because their bases are massive. The deployment zones aren't that big. So, but she pushed out. She ended up getting, I got first turn, I believe, on this one. Yes. Let's come back to it real quick. Yes, I went first. So basically, I just pre-staged the first turn, forced myself to go out into these objectives. You can see my Poxwalkers that are standing there in the bottom half of the board. They never moved the entire game. They stayed there. They held that objective the entire game. There were a bunch of Poxwalkers up at the northwest objective, the furthest one to the northwest. Held that one in the entire game, and then just forced her to basically trade. She'd kill off something, I'd get back on top of it, and we played that killing game where basically she was never scoring at the top. I wasn't scoring too much, but again, in Purge the Foe, I was outpacing her on the kills a lot, which saved me a lot of points. I was almost 8 points on the kill objective every single turn. So that was the hugely helpful part. So we got down, this is looking at turn 4 right here. She's got 3 knights left on the board. So I was very efficient in my drops and my ability to trade up and kill. So prioritizing the right knights, and then eventually flooded into her deployment zone. And she ended up conceding right at the bottom of this turn at turn 4 when I finished mine, or when she finished her turn. So yeah, we talked out turn 5, but yeah, that was the majority of this game. This one is just built for me. I don't fear the small knights. I've got enough resilience in the army to hold them out. And then with hers, I went -1 in the contagion range, so she had a problem with it anyway. Or her knights having swing on 4s and shoot on 4s the entire game is rough.
Oh, really? So you
Yeah,
chose to -1
yeah,
ballistic
because
skill, weapon skill, or
yeah,
whatever?
yeah, only because a majority of my weapons are already either AP1 or AP2. So that's putting them on their invulns and shooting. And then once I got into combat, they were on their 5s and 6s regardless anyways already. So that's what
I
we went with
see.
in this one. But yeah, forcing
Okay.
like her knights and stuff to shoot on forts is something I wanted to test. Typically, I would take -1 armor against knights and stuff just because it would be easy, because everything for them would be 6-up saves or no saves depending on what I'm shooting at them. Or, hitting them with in combat. But for this one, I wanted to test out the -1 weapon skill ability, or not weapon skill anymore. It's just -1 to the hit roll. It used to be weapon skill, so I could stack it with -1 to your roll, so it would be -2. It was great. Miss those days. You don't miss those days when you're Votan or hitting on 5s.
No.
Okay, but yeah, that was the majority of that game. I ended up taking it 97-53. And it was a good victory, but it was a good bounce back to like get me moving in the right direction for the overall tournament. My hopes were high after that point because I'd actually
Yeah.
done something very similar at the Rocky Mountain Open. I lost my very first game at Rocky Mountain Open and then went 5-1 overall and just won my next 5 games. So that's what I was hoping to go in for. But then we showed up into the next round. We got to round 3.
Before I move on, what
Hmm.
would you highlight as the key lesson learned, maybe on your end or even on your opponent's end, if there's
Probably
something you can highlight?
my opponent's end probably now understands how lethal Deathguard can actually be, even at range, which is something a lot of people haven't had to deal with before. Was Deathguard lethal at range was kind of a joke. Like we were really good in combat, but now with how the bloat drones are and everything, they're really really good. So people actually have to respect the range game with Deathguard now, and we we kind of live in this really nice realm with how Deathguard are, to where I can hit you at range and you keep having to either answer that question, but by the time you do, I suddenly have 6-inch deep striking Death Shroud on top of you, and they're point for point the best Terminator in the game and some of the best fighters in the game. Especially when you have a Lord of Contagion that attaches to them, and then they've got Lance, they've got sustained hits, and there's pumping out, and then AP3 or AP2 based on contagions, all sorts of stuff, and then got characters that can stand up out of combat. They're just good. So that was probably the biggest thing, was like respect the shooting and then she definitely went the 50-50 across the board. So once I got one side to collapse, I picked up my death shroud and moved him to the other side of the board. So, and then her other wing ended up collapsing as well. So that was like she probably needed to commit more and then not commit Canis Rex out to the center and just not thinking he was not going to die. So it's like Canis Rex he's tough, but he's not invincible. He can definitely be brought down. And both times I fought Canis Rex in this tournament, it was brought down in one turn and never got a chance to play. So that was probably the key takeaways. And then my own key takeaways, I think I played this one out fairly well. My movements were correct. I played the center game and then forced her to either answer to come out to me, which she had to, and then would bounce often. But yeah, I think I played this one for the most part right. But I didn't enjoy having first turn because once in a while, I've actually overcommitted on the first turn and then gotten myself shot to pieces. So I learned that one quickly, but that was a good lesson learned for me to remember. Is just, yep, pace it out, let it happen. You've got 5 turns to get this game done. It doesn't all have to happen on the first turn.
Well, awesome, man. This is a good victory.
Yep.
So moving on, let's go mission P. So this is round 3 of Lone Star Open. So the end of day 1.
Yep. End of day 1. So still same deployment, everything. So Scorched Earth is going to be the mission where you can burn objectives off the board as an action. I can tell you in this game we never did any of that. Or we might have done it like the last turn to make up a couple points. But past that, we didn't really use them very much. This was against Custodes and their new detachment. They're the Lines of the Emperor detachment. I can tell you right now that is a tough detachment. The rule for those people that don't know, each time a model and Adeptus Custodes unit from your army, excluding vehicles, makes an attack, if there are no other friendly units within 6 inches of that unit, add 1 to the hit roll, add 1 to the wound roll. So oaths on permanent, as long as you're 6 inches away. Like it's a really good rule to have, like for anybody. So basically everything in their arm is going to hit on 2s, it's going to wound on 2s and 3s. That's kind of just the majority of it. Especially, so this guy's particular list, though, going into this one, he was running a tough list, though. You can see it's just the 2 characters there, the Blade Champion, Blade Champion. Superior Creation was the enhancement on one of them. That's basically on a 2-up, stand up with full wounds after you die, out of combat. Past that, he had his Custodian Guard, Custodian Wardens, the normal little things. And then he had 3 of those big Forge World tanks, and those things are super good. Specialist. I'm not a specialist on Custodes, just a specialist at trying to kill them.
Yeah. Good enough. All
But
right,
yeah,
yeah.
they have
So,
a ton
okay.
of really good rules and stuff like that. Though the detachment's just super strong, but the +1 to hit, +1 to wound, if you're 6 inches away from anything, so you're out there operating by yourself, which Custodes typically do anyways. So the guy I was playing, though, Kai, super nice guy. He's out of Tabletop Warfare, Hawaii.
Oh
So
man, you got
shout out
all
to
the
you guys.
dice.
Yeah, it's like everybody's handing me dice this time. It was great. We need to get more dice so we can
We need
hand
our
out
own
our
dice.
dice. Yeah, we need our own dice so we can hand them out. But yeah, so his list was majority of those 3 tanks were definitely the basis of his list. Like those things, point, click, dead. Like whatever they shot at was going to be dead. Other than that, he had the Blade Guard, Custodian Guard, the Custodian Wardens, normal 2-up, 4-up, 4 wounds apiece kind of guys, super tough Terminator infantry. Other things, though, in the list were the Prosecutors, which were his Bolt Gun sisters. Then he had Flamer sisters as well. And then Witch Seekers. The Witch Seekers are the Flamer ones. The Prosecutors are the Bolter sisters. They're super good. Mostly they were objective. They were objective holders, action monkeys. That's what they were. Yep. And then the Caladius Grav tanks, which were super ridiculous. Yeah, those grav tanks hurt. And hey, they can also. He did have a Caladius Assassin as well, which is for anybody that doesn't know, Deep Strike Deny and the +1 to all CP used. So either is it double or is it +1? It's one of the two. But yeah, it makes things super expensive. For you basically don't get to use your stuff. They're all on 2s. Yeah, ballistic skill 2,
Jeez. Oh,
everything.
geez.
Yep. Yep. And in melee,
Can
they're
you,
ballistic skill 4 or weapon skill 4. But
can you tell me the profile of that? What is the Arcanus Heavy Blaze Cannon?
yeah, the Arcanus Heavy Blaze Cannon is 4 attacks, 48 inches, so it can reach across the board. ballistic skill 2, strength 12, AP minus 3, D6 plus 2 damage per shot.
And
And these things
so
have
you said
all the
four
weapons on
shots
them.
coming at
Yeah,
this
4 shots.
strength
Yeah.
12. Okay.
Yep.
Oh man.
And so they have and these things run all of their weapons. It's not like, here, let me choose which weapon I really want to run, but they have so they have the blaze cannon, or they have the accelerator, which is the rapid fire version, a little weaker, but flat 3 damage. But everybody's pretty much running these D6 plus 2 damage because they click point dead. But then they also have their bolters, which are sustained 1 automatically, and they've got 2 of them on them. And then there are 3 attacks apiece, ballistic skill 2, strength 6, AP minus 1, damage 1. So these things just
Oh,
shred through even heavy infantry. Like my Terminators, my Terminators are probably a little bit out because we're more the T7 breakpoint.
yeah,
But
it wounded
standard
you on
Terminators are
5s, but everybody
T5.
else,
Yeah,
yeah.
everybody else is just, but those things still, I mean, them just firing the shots into us, the chip damage was just ridiculous. So those were
Wow.
probably the basis of the army, but their blade guards with or their blade champions with their custodian guard and stuff like that are no slouches when it comes to combat. Even their bolters are really nice that they have. So, and I definitely should have respected the distance a little bit more in this game. So you can see for my deployment, I was relatively cagey, mostly with my vehicles, keeping everything back, keeping out of line of sight, because I feared those tanks. I mostly just wanted to get these first down the bottom, the southeast objective, the bottom one there. I got my poxwalkers down there on the infiltrate just because I was actually going to try to burn off that objective, go heavy to the northwest objective, and force him to either come up there and play with me on my terms, but I never actually got my burn off. He was able to move up, make charges, and kill me off. So I was never able to take that southern objective and hold it for the entirety of the game. And is there anything past this slide? Unless there's any other
Let me go
pictures in
ahead
this
and drop
game.
to the next slide. I think this is just talking kind of what was your plan? What was your game plan
Okay,
here?
yep. Yeah, so my
And I
game
think
plan here was,
we started alluding to that a little bit with
yep,
putting the poxwalkers
yep,
down here southeast, trying to hold.
yep. So I'd
Yeah.
put enough my drones in the bottom half of my deployment zone here, just so I could shoot anything off of that objective I needed to. Basically, just to pester them enough that has to be an answer down there for that. Something, if anything is going to try to come to that objective, I could shoot just about anything off of it. And then I was hoping to be able to initiate a burn. Of course, I'm taking a picture here. He's like middle of his movement phase, and you can see where he's moving his guys up to. So that was probably about an 11-inch charge. I can tell you right now, he landed that 11-inch charge, or I would have been able to burn that objective, and it would have been good. So it almost worked. The initial plan was the right thing, is like get rid of one of the objectives and force him to play center. Of course, his assassin sat in the center. Then he found out drones can move 10 inches, and assassins don't hold up that well if they don't make their 4 binvolts. But and then basically I was going to secure the top objective, and then I wanted to have my expansion objective be to the northwest, so I held my own, expanded to the north, and then basically just kept trying to kill him off the center objective. And I was hopefully the bottom objective was going to be gone, but that obviously doesn't work when an 11-inch charge happens. But that was my plan set up. His area was his was definitely spread across. He kept a lot of his stuff. His blade guard, he kept one of them down. A majority of them stayed off the board, so you could bring them in later, deep strike them. And his was very. I think in that was basically just because of, especially with this deployment, it's hard to get lines on anything not sitting in the center. So I think he was going to bring the knight in like the top or the southern portion of the board, just so he could have lines on the rest of the board. He did have all 3 tanks on the board. You can see basically this is after his first movement phase. He moved to take the north objective. He moved to take the southern objective. He was trying to shoot off the poxwalkers, and he killed a couple of them prior to the attack, but he landed. He moved into a position. He landed an 11-inch charge. He landed 2 9-inch charges, and then he landed a 7-inch charge all in his second turn. So I made a huge mistake there and overcommitted a lot of my really nice assets, and he got into every one of them, and he killed every single one of them. So that I lost half of my army on turn 2 because I didn't measure out his threat ranges. I should have, like, people can roll an 11, they can roll a 12. If you don't put yourself in the situation, you aren't going to lose those guys. If you put yourself in the situation, there's a possibility you're going to lose those guys, and that's what happened to me. So I overcommitted to try to have more of a guarantee on my side and got well within his range. I mean, the 7, not terribly hard to land, but an 11, 9, 9, those things can happen. That's dice games. So that was the big thing, and I ended up losing a lot of stuff because of it. So that was how I thought it was going to go. Was I was just going to move up here slowly, and then I was going to commit across these objectives because I knew I was going to lose my poxwalkers after this second turn. Basically, at this point, then once I was done with that the second turn, surviving the rest of his combats and everything like that, I lost a lot of my drones to his shooting from his tanks. I lost a lot of them to the charges that he was able to land. And one of those charges was a tank charge as well, and he maxed out the mortal wounds on that one. That was pretty good. So it was kind of just hysterical, like how good the dice were for those first 2 turns for him. It was great, and it made for a super fun game. We laughed about it there. I mean, I had my rough moment of, like, dang it, everything just kind of fell apart in my game plan there. But hey, that's dice games. That's why we play them. So got into my third turn. At this point, I was just basically trying to get into recovery. So get my Death Shroud down onto the board. Start fighting back into his, and I was able to pick up a majority of his stuff. I never took down a single tank. They sat back far enough, they could move fast enough. I couldn't get to him, and he was able to pick off my Mephitic Blight haulers and my drones to the point where I was ineffective at that point, and then it was slowly just pick up the rest of the Death Shroud Terminators as the game went on. So if I look, yep. 2. Yeah, I ended up getting only 20 points in primary overall. I didn't, of course, we don't score the first turn. I got 5, 5, 5, 5 for holding my home objective the entire game, and that was it. So it was tough. It was definitely a tough game. In the very bottom, where my Death Shrouder tangled up with the rest of his guard and stuff like that, those are the guys that landed the 11-inch charge that killed off the Poxwalkers on the southern objective. And then, but I did take the center with my drone. My drone blew up his assassin one shot. It was nice. That was the highlight of probably my side of the game. Me killing off that assassin and it never getting to do anything and never cost me anything. But yeah, so you can see after this, like, if you drop the picture backwards, go back 2 pictures, you can see how much I have on this board coming out of his second turn, and then go to the next one. You can see how many drones I lost in 1 turn.
Oh,
yeah. So it was rough, and it was bad tactical decisions on my side. I had 3 drones by the end of turn 3. I had 3 drones left. I had 1 Mephitic left, and then 2 of my heavy blight drones. I actually might have had a 4th up in that objective. It might be hidden behind that wall right now, but I know it didn't survive. They didn't survive this turn. But yep, so he moved heavily aggressively into me, and it was basically who was going to break first is what it came down to, and I ended up breaking first. Like, my drones went down, my Death Shroud, they just didn't hold up into the combat with them. I tried to get wounds through, but his was just able to hold out longer than mine, and I only ended up scoring 20 points in my primary, 16 points in my secondaries. Just could not do anything. I got an extend battle lines off, I got an overwhelming force off, I got a display of might, and I got a behind enemy lines at one point. There we go. Hey, but I was battle ready, so I got my 10 points for battle ready.
no, there you go.
There you go.
So break it down for me one more time. We'll summarize this one up. So it looks like Custodes victories. We got a couple of really lucky charges on the Custodes part, maybe a lucky tank shock. But overall, what do you think? What did they do? What did they do right? And what did you do that you need to
basically he mathed out a lot better. Like, he knew what his unit could do, what it was capable of doing, and he knew he didn't overcommit to any point of an objective. Like, he knew his Guardians were going to get on the ground. He knew they were going to be able to take out this unit plus the next unit with the support of one of the Gravis tanks behind him. So he was very good at ensuring that he didn't overcommit forward until the point of, like, no return, where if he committed at that point, it was going to break my spine anyways, and it did. So he was very good at mathing out that, and then division, and then also making sure his units were staying 6 inches apart, which not terribly hard with Custodes because there's so few units that they have. So they're usually, lone operators anyways. But they're just infinitely better when they're operating behind or operating off of themselves, where almost every other army they need to operate close to somebody to be good at something. So, but that's what he did. And then for me, I just overcommitted across the board. I should have stacked to one side. Like I should have probably put my Poxwalkers on the southern objective just a little further back, so I knew even if he moved, it was still going to be a 12-inch charge or a 13-inch charge that they wouldn't have been able to make anyways. And then I could have burned that objective and made it happen. And then I probably could have just played my Death Shroud down and forced him to come to me, and then played that kind of measuring game for the most part. That probably would have been the route I should have gone. And then just knowing that you want to be at 13 inches. You don't want to give them even the opportunity. You don't want it to have to come down to dice. You want it to come down to the tactical decision they make versus the luck of chance of dice or anything like that. So, because if he can land a 12-inch charge, that completely throws a huge wrench in your plan. In this game, sometimes you can't recover from something like that. If they bomb a 12-inch charge, take out a key unit, that's a flank right there. So don't give them the option is basically what I'll take away from this one. Is I'll measure it out and much better next time. Be like, okay, we're now 12 and a half inches away, even if you move, so it doesn't matter, and you won't be able to get to me. And then I move up my 5 or 6 inches, and I can make it a 6-inch charge that gets him back on the next one. But then I didn't lose anything. So that's probably what I would take away from this one for the most part. And then I went home after day one with a 1-2 record, cried in my beer a little bit, and then texted you guys that I was going to go 3-0 the next day.
Well, great. Well, this is a great pause for we'll call this episode 2, and then we'll
Okay.
come back and discuss in our third episode what happened on day 2 of LSO. So if you've been with us this far, thanks for hanging on. Again, this is the Consortium After Action Review. All right, till
Thank you.
next time.